Hey guys, what's up? I know it's been many months, but a lot's happened. If you've tuned into the podcast I co-host with my friend Paige, it's called Saved by the Books. I'll link it down below. You may have heard me talking about some of the stuff that has prevented me from filming anything. So just a little life update. I bought a house, and at the same time I got pretty sick, and then January happened and I had an allergic reaction. So everything's good now. Hope to be filming more. I have my library set up, which is behind me, and I absolutely love it. But I'm just here today to talk about kind of my January reading plans. So on the most recent podcast episode, Paige and I talked about some of kind of our reading goals and stuff. And so one of the goals I have this year is to read more off of my shelf. And excuse the noise, Poppy's has a bone. Poppy. So one of the goals I have is to read more of my actual TBR books. I went through some massive book buying periods over the last few years. Last year was pretty good, but those years beforehand. And so I have a massive physical TBR. Over New Year's, I actually figured out I have close to 1,000 books. I think it's 1,002 right now. And I'm right at half of them read. So this year my goal is to read 100 books off my shelf. We'll see if I get there, but I'm kind of excited to kind of go through this and everything. So sorry, Poppy's trying to distract us all. So my first goal is read 100 books, which I did last year. My second goal is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the A to Z challenge. So each month I'll focus on 2 letters. So for January, I'm focusing on letters A and B. And so I went through my shelves and found all the titles that start with A and B, and I kind of selected a few random ones. So for A, the books I kind of want to focus on are Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I loved the Netflix series Anne with an E. I, for some reason, never read Anne of Green Gables while I was growing up. So, if you don't know, Anne is an orphan who kind of mistakenly gets put with a family. They wanted a boy, but obviously she's a girl. And it takes place in, isn't it new? Takes place in Prince Edward Island. So I'm kind of excited to kind of read a classic that a lot of people loved and they grew up with. So, but that's the first book. The second book I want to read for A is All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders. All the Birds in the Sky, I found this strolling through my local bookstore probably 3-4 years ago. And because it just looked really interesting. It's kind of a sci-fi, fantasy, magical realism. I've discovered recently I love magical realism. And only recently, because of Paige, I've gotten into fantasy and everything. But it's about 2 people who meet when they're young and kind of go through the struggles of growing up and their relationships coming together and like distance apart. But then there is kind of this sense of an end of the world, like some things big's going to happen. And so there's a science way to potentially fix it, and then there's a magical way to potentially fix it. So, but yeah, I'm super excited about this one. So the next book is Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen. I bought this, I think, at last year's library sale because Paige and I knew we wanted to meet her either at BookCon or when she came to our local Barnes & Noble. I never read Sarah Dessen growing up, even though I had one of her books since high school. I've always been a book hoarder, I guess. But this is a book where it's about a girl who's always kind of had to be like a mini adult, and then her parents get divorced. And I believe she has to spend the summer before college in a beach town. And so it's about her life there, her experiences. And then, of course, she meets a boy who's a loner. So I loved the rest of the story that we read for the podcast last summer, and so I'm excited to read more Sarah Desson's. I'm also hopefully going to get to The Alchemist by Paulo de Coelho. I bought it 2 Thanksgivings ago because it was a signed edition. It was the Black Friday kind of sale at Barnes & Noble. But this is just one of those, I think, classics or what we would consider a modern classic. It's about a boy that goes on a quest, a journey from, I believe, yes, Spain into Egypt and stuff. And so it's all about transformation and all that. Plus, it's a thin book. So this will be the one I think I fit in at the end of the month if I still have time. So then for my B's, I plan on reading Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman. My mom actually gave me her copy after she read it last year, and she just really recommended it and said she really enjoyed it. But it's about this woman named Britt Marie who kind of has to finally go out on her own and make decisions on her own after leaving her husband. And then I know that there's a football team that takes place, and then there's a mouse on the cover. So I think it's just mainly about her journey and discovering who she is. So plus it's a really pretty green cover, so I'm excited. I also plan on reading Big Little Lies finally by Leanne Moriarty. I watched the first season of the show when it first came out and loved it. Not that I remember much about it, but I love the cast. And I really enjoyed The Husband's Secret. And What Alice Forgot was somewhat okay. We read it last summer for the book club too. And I just bought all of her books that came out because I wanted to make sure I got all the editions that matched because they're just really pretty. But I'm excited I remember loving the show, and I'm kind of excited to like dive into this one. But it's basically about parents at an elementary school and then a murder, and everything happens, and by the end of it you try and figure out who actually killed the person. And then the final B I plan on reading is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. I've seen a lot of people recommend Christina Lauren. I've never read any of hers, so I just picked up this one, and I picked another, I think I picked up, is it The Honeymooners? Hi, Poppy. And so I just wanted to try something different. Sorry, guys, Poppy's being needy right now. Anyways, this is about a guy named Bennett that comes back from France to work at his family's company, and then he kind of gets involved with his secretary. So I don't know how I feel about this. Kind of sounds like 50 Shades, and so not really into that, but curious to give Christina Lauren a chance because I know a lot of people absolutely love this writing duo. Plan on reading all of these for January, so we'll see. But there's 2 more books I'm also going to attempt. So for the Saved by the Books podcast for January, we are reading Once and For All by Sarah Desson. We thought it would be a really fun book to read going into February, but it's about a girl who helps her mom with her wedding planning business, and from what I understand, I don't think she actually believes in like true love, or she questions it because of her parents' divorce. But I'm excited to read it for the podcast, and make sure you tune in at the end of January, hopefully for our discussion video, because we're going to do better. And then the other book I'm attempting, so this is my 3rd challenge for the year, is I'm reading Les Mis with a group of people on Instagram, and we're reading a chapter a day, and so far a few days in, and I absolutely love everything about it. I bought this copy this past summer when I kind of got into a French vibe, and then I hadn't picked it up, and so when I was scrolling Instagram one day, I found people talking about, hey, let's read Les Mis. So if you're interested, I will link the host below in the description, because it's been a fun, I mean, I've really enjoyed it. We have a group chat going to talk about everything, and I don't know. So we'll read one chapter a day, and then we'll end a day early because it's a leap year, because it has exactly that chapters in it. And luckily they've been somewhat short. But yeah, so I have a lot of challenges. I'm kind of nervous to see if I can keep it going, because I was in a massive reading slump at the end of last year, which is also why I didn't post much. I'm glad to be back, and I hope you enjoyed. So let me know down below if you've read any of these, what challenges you plan on doing this year, and I will see you next time. So make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment, and bye!